Okay, let's do a little quick tutorial on getting a wheel to spin. I saw a similar tutorial a year or so ago and thought I'd just do another one. Start with the torus shape and bring it over into your working area, and you want to get it lined up right in the middle of the universe. And let's just hit the W key and hold down the alternate, and notice that it's not smack center where the pivot point is. So let's go up here and make sure with our new tools and version 5, move that, and let's type in 0 here. And so now hold down the alternate key, and so now we should be in the middle of the universe in iCLONE with the torus shape. Now let's go on down and simplify the shape a little more. We really don't need the texture, so let's save some system resources, eliminate that, and we'll create what we call a helper. And so the torus is going to be our wheel helper. Okay, so now we want to rotate on the y-axis, and let's go to about 25 frames or so, and the y-axis is there. Let's just type in over here 90 frames. Let's go to 50 and type in 180 degrees, and let's go to about 75 or so, best you can, and let's type in 270, and let's go into frame 100 and go to 0. Okay, it's a funky way to do it, but that's what we kind of got to do in iCLONE, at least as far as I know. There's probably a better way to do this. And there we go. We got one rotation now, and that's fine. So let's go ahead and collect that rotation, and we'll just grab, make sure we get all the keyframes. Right click, going to add that to the helper library, and we'll call it counterclockwise, and just labeled it that. Okay. And now, if we delete all our keyframes and delete our animation, let's go back to 0. Let's delete our animation, remove all animation. Now come down, and now we have a perform counterclockwise one time. Let it render out, and you'll notice you've got a little animation clip, and you've also got a little funky clip at the beginning. Let's just go ahead and delete that for now. We really don't need that. So now we've got one animation that can be looped. And so let's go through the loop, and let's do a loop instead of a speed change. And let's just loop that for however long you want it to loop. And let's say 3,000 or so frames. So now let's do that. Let's collect that one more time. Let's get all of our frames, pretty much. Okay, and let's call that, let's add that to our library, and counterclockwise 3,000, let's say. Okay, and let's go ahead and return to 0. Let's remove all animation, and now we have a perform 3,000. Okay, now that's not real fast if that was a wheel rotating, so we can speed that up, and let's stop that, and let's look at, let's do that one more time. Let's delete our animation, remove all animation. Let's let that render out. When you do a perform and perform on an object and let it render an animation, you have to let it complete, or you will cut the animation short. So since that was 3,000 frames, we are going to let this run for 3,000 frames. Okay, and through the magic of editing, we have now rendered out 3,000 frame animation. Let's look, and there is our animation clip for sure, right there as a animation clip of a continuous revolve. Now, if that was a wheel, it'd probably be rolling rather slow on a car. So obviously, if you want to change the speed of your wheel rotation, when we parent this torus to a wheel, we can go into our animation and shorten it, turn off the loop, and now it will move obviously much faster. So that's how you can adjust your speed. Once you get a speed you like, then loop this animation for the rest of your animation. So that will work nicely. Let's go back to the beginning once again, and I think it's a good idea to render reverse as well. So let's remove all our animation, and now let's do the same thing we did, only now we're going to go clockwise. So let's tighten up our animation so we can see where we're going, and once again roughly at 25 frames, let's go clockwise. And we're going to go we'll type in 270 now, degrees there. And then we'll go to 50 frames, and we will type 180 there. And we'll go to 75, and we'll type 90, and we'll go to 100, and type 0. And once again, we have an animation that simply lasts a complete revolution there, and that's it. So we will go once again and collect our clip, and let's tighten that up a little better. Okay, and now we will add that to the library of the clip, and we'll do that clockwise. We'll just put a C there, and we'll go through those steps once again, and we will return. We will delete, remove all our animation. It gets rid of the transform keys. And now we have a perform that is clockwise. Okay, and once again, let's go and look at our animation. Let's slide it down here so we can see what we've got. And animation. So now we once again have a clip. And I would say go ahead and delete this little clip that iCLONE automatically creates. Slide this all the way back and turn on looping. And loop this out once again to 3000 and do just what we did and create a nice animation that is 3000 frames or so, however long you'd like to do it, and that's what we'll do. Okay, we have renamed our torus now Wheel Turn, and you can load it in anytime. And if you look at your performance, I'm calling it now Wheel Turn, Wheel Counterclockwise 3000, and there we go. Once again, when you do a perform animation, then you must let it run its course and render out the simulation, as it were. And if you stop it here, then it's only going to give you an anim of that length. It's only going to create a clip that long. So let it run if that's the length you're going to want to work with. And so we're going to let it run. Okay, so we rendered that out. So we have a rotation around 3000 frames, going somewhat slow, but once again, we'll speed that up if we want to. Load in your wheel object, whatever that is. Now we want to parent that wheel to the torus, which we have now named Wheel Rotate. So let's attach, and now the wheel is going to pattern and parent itself now to the torus and rotate. And once again, if we want to speed that up, which we probably would, we'll go up to Wheel Rotate, look at the animation, and make sure we're off of loop. Speed it up. Now we have a much faster wheel rotation. And then you can loop that more if you need to. Okay, now we have the wheel attached to the torus, what we call Wheel Rotate now. And as you can see, it's rotating. How do we get rid of the torus? We don't want to see it necessarily. So if we click on it, set as dummy, if we hold down Control D, it will go away, and now all we see is the wheel spinning. So Control D, or you could go down and adjust the opacity of the torus and make it completely opaque, and it'll be fine. Can't turn it off over here though in the Scene Manager, because since the wheel is attached, the truck wheel is attached, everything's going to disappear. So setting the dummy is probably the best way to go. And now the wheel rotate. Now, obviously, you can duplicate your wheel. You can build a single axle if you want to. But notice it's a good idea. We have our various performance. We can go clockwise and counterclockwise either way. Okay, now one thing you can do is just build a simple axle. Hold down the control key and duplicate your wheel and then rotate the wheel correctly. And let's just go over here and do a 180. And slide it out, let's say. Create an axle, simple axle object, just from a cylinder, from your parts and pieces. And if you parent the wheels to the axle, and then parent the axle to the wheel torus, then you can rotate that way. So let's take a wheel and let's attach to the axle and the other wheel and attach to the axle. Load in your wheel helper, and just for grins we'll slide it down here. Make sure you're at the beginning of your animation. You do things like that. And it's going the wrong way, so let's tell it to perform once again counterclockwise. Render out your animation for sure. You can do it either before or after you have attached to the axle, but that will work. Then you'll have an axle. You can then duplicate that and let that be the front and back. So that's a little wheel rotation for you. And of course it can be used for various other things. You might want to create reels moving on a tape recorder, an old-fashioned tape recorder, for your next spy thriller. Okay, let's create another little helper, and we'll call this one a shaker helper. And we might be able to use this with other vehicles. And so let's just create a cube, which is fine. Let's open up the timeline, get in the transform, go down a few frames, and just using the gizmo tool, let's just rotate it ever so slightly a little bit, just a few frames here and there, varying degrees, like a shake. And try to make it as random as possible and not too much shaking, just enough to get the idea that something's kind of bouncing along or shaking due to a bad motor or any other thing. So we'll just put down a few random keyframes. And now let's take a look. Okay, here we go. Let's grab all those. Let's drag, and then I'll hold down the control key. And I'm going to offset some duplicates here, and let's just see what that does. Drag some more frames in there. Yeah, okay. Kind of good. Let me try that again. Try a little different positioning. Let's try that. See how that works. Okay. Now let's just grab all those again and drag them down. Offset them maybe a little bit. Set them a little bit. And so we just got some shaking going on here. Okay. Now let's collect all of that information and create a little perform anim. Add to motion library. Shaker. And now we'll delete all of the, remove the animation. Come back to the beginning. And perform shaker. So now we got the shaking going on here. And that's okay. I think you can tweak it and make it even much better than that. That'll give you the idea of what a shaker does. And we'll save that. Okay, let's take our parts and now assemble our vehicle. Here's the wheels we worked on. As you can see, we've got the wheel helper attached, and it's already been saved with an animation, so it's rolling. Let's go ahead and duplicate that by hitting the W key, hold down the Control key, and drag out another iteration of that. And if you do that, you'll notice that it does not repeat that animation motion. You do have to do the perform, which you can do. I'm going to undo that and just add another wheel, and that way when you add it already saved with an animation, it's going to come in with its animation, so I like to do that. Prefer to do that. Now let's add another simple object to parent this to, and once again I like to use a simple cube. I like to eliminate any images, maps associated with it, so they won't be associated. Let's just go ahead and scale it down. It's going to be invisible and it will be a dummy object, but just so we can differentiate it if we have to see something, we'll call it truck. Well, just for grins, we will make it a dummy. Set it's a dummy. And once again, when you hold down Control D, all your dummies disappear. Okay, so let's get our wheel rotation here, and let's attach that to the truck null. And let's get our other wheel, attach it to the truck null. Select the null, and let's see if everything is attached, and it looks like it is. And things still rotate okay. And let's now add a shaker. So I've built some different shakers, modified shakers. Shaker, here's a fast shaker I built. So let's click that, bring that in, and let's attach that shaker. I didn't center things up real well, not that it makes a big difference, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. I do want to center the shaker a little better though, so we'll see if that makes a difference in the motion. Probably will. So let me change that. Let's take that null, let's detach, detach, and null, let's move it to the center a little better. Didn't line things up as good as I should have at the beginning. So that's pretty close there. So we'll rotate. Once again, we'll attach to that, and we'll rotate. We'll attach to that null, and so the null's there. Okay, let's now get back to work, and let's get our shaker, and let's attach it to the truck null. And once again, you can see, I think the shaker is shaking, but the null is staying still. So you don't want necessarily the wheels to shake. You can set it up that way, but I want the body of the truck to shake. And let's load in something I found on Google Warehouse and did some modifications to it. And so we've got a truck there. Let's look at that rear wheel, which is right here. Let's slide it back to where it fits a little better. Okay, there we go. And we didn't set our shaker as a null, so let's set it as a dummy object. So it's a dummy. Now Control D will turn off all that. Okay, now we've got our truck body here. Let's take that shaker, and let's take the truck and parent it, attach it to the shaker. And it's now shaking pretty wild. And we can slow that down. Okay, we've got everything attached. Let's take a look. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look at that pivot point on the hot rod truck. And you know, you might think about lowering that pivot point so the center of the shake for the truck, you know, is happening around the engine, let's say, where the most of the vibration would be coming from. that should make a little difference. It all depends on what you're after, but it could be going over a bumpy road, could be doing whatever. And once again, you could ease it up a little bit with the shake. Of course, hitting Control D will hide all of the dummy objects. And there we go. So now we got a real jalopy. Okay, so once you've got your vehicle built and you simply want to go from point A to point B, easy way, I'm thinking, is probably to just bring up the gizmo and slide down a few frames and just slide it down to there. And there you go. Now you'll want to kind of get your spacing set up so the wheels look a little more realistic. And hopefully, now that we have physics, somebody will come up with a great idea and we'll be able to have actual physics take over and the wheels will turn as we push along. But for now, just figure out how far you've got to travel and adjust your wheels accordingly and get the best look you can get. And let's just slide her all the way back here. There we go. That's pretty close. And still a little slipping, but we can add more distance in there, and we can tweak the rotation in our animation too. So there we go. Now, if you have a little more complicated path to move a vehicle, use the path, and that'll be one way you can do it, is to lay down a path like so. Hold down the alternate key there and move around. So hit escape, and then attach your vehicle to the path. So let's grab that, select the null, and we're going to pick path here. Okay, and then slide our slider a bit and pick our path here. Now notice that it didn't change orientation. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow path, and notice it still flipped around the wrong way. So let's try adjusting the axis, and let's see. There we go, -Y. Seems to work fine. So another tutorial we'll get into to talk about turning the wheels to make them look a little more realistic, since the wheels would need to turn the front wheels. But that's for another day. But a little more complicated path now. Now notice, if we had a terrain, we would probably be a little bit below, since we're going below. So if we raise the path, we can now raise everything up. And if it's a flat surface, not a problem. This is the easy way to do it, down and dirty. As I said, very basic tutorial.